Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Gentle Dental. I'm Dr. Sara Chinnery, and today I'm so excited to introduce to you someone who has had an incredible influence on my early career, Sara Heiner. Sarah's journey in dentistry started chairside as a dental assistant in an endodontic practice, and from there, her drive and leadership skills propelled her to Aspen Dental, where she worked her way up from dental assistant to regional manager. I had the privilege of working alongside Sarah at my very first job outside of school in a private practice, and I can tell you firsthand she is an absolute rock star. Now, Sarah is the office manager of a thriving clinic in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where she continues to raise the bar for leadership, patient care, and team success. The sky's truly the limit with her, and I can't wait for you to hear her story and insights. So, Sarah, can you introduce yourself and share your story about starting as a dental assistant in endodontics to regional manager at Aspen Dental?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited about doing this. I hope it brings some good information to people who are just unsure about certain things in our field. So I think this is really exciting. So just like you said, went to dental assisting school. Right out of school, I went to a chairside endodontic position and can't say enough good things about that. I know probably a lot of girls in assisting school are like, oh my gosh, that's the last thing I want to do. But honestly, I just feel like that gave me such amazing insight into a corner of, our business that a lot of people don't know a ton about. And I feel like even going into general assisting, I was able to, really talk patients through a lot of their concerns about having a root canal and just ease their mind over it. A little side thing on that is I had an awesome endodontist that I worked with. He actually did some teaching in endo. And so I did have my own microscope and I can definitely identify an MB too, just so you know. But I worked in assisting there for a bit, went into an office manager role, and then my final position with them was in regional management. And I had anywhere between 7 to 9 offices at any given time of me. And I just learned so much. And I have really nothing negative to share about that. I think a lot of people have a negative connotation with DSO, and I just think it was a great launching point in my career, and I really learned so much. From there, decided to take a step back, not work as many hours. I have 2 young girls, went into private practice management, managed 3 practices in a group there for a while. And then now I'm just with one office solely, like you said, in Sioux Falls. We're right outside of Sioux Falls in T. So stay very busy with that. But yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here.
So, what made you want to switch from going to the assisting side to the managing aspect?
I just am so eager to learn new things and just really, I just feel like I was kind of a born leader. I like to look for opportunities and help the rest of the group really monopolize on what we can do to make things more productive. I saw just different things from my assisting role where I was like, that's really like a hang up in the flow of the practice. And I just had so many ideas. And I just thought if I can get one of these offices under my wing, I can just take some of my knowledge from being chairside and really help blend the two parts of this office and really make it flow. And I just never looked back from there. I leading a team and just having the ability to help bring other people into this field and help them grow. So I really enjoyed that.
What was it like transitioning from endodontics to general dentistry?
It was kind of tough at first. I was so used to just like looking inside of the opening at the top of a tooth. So it was a lot at first. I feel like I kind of had to go back to like square one and really like relearn some of the things that I learned in school. And once you got into it, it was pretty quick. But yeah, I think focusing on one tooth, it definitely makes for a long day.
Was your background as a dental assistant helpful as you transitioned to office manager?
Yes, so much so. For a long time, I really felt like, especially in my role at Aspen, it trained a lot of office managers that came through the pipeline. There was certainly times where I was like, holy smokes, this is going to be impossible to get someone ready to do all of this. Larger offices, I'm sure, split those positions. Treatment coordinator, office manager might not do both things. It's not impossible. Tough. It's tough. I would say I use my knowledge from the back every day in some capacity. I think it helps bridge patients' trust, just really knowing that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to their store. If you don't do this, this could happen. There's a lot of things you just don't know unless you're in it. I did train a lot of managers that did not come from dental. It just takes a lot of extra time and patients, and we had this like big clinical workbook that we would have to get them through, and I was one that knows dental. I think it's going to save you a lot of stress.
When we worked together early in my career, I saw how you handled challenges with confidence. Where did you learn your leadership style?
Wow. Well, first of all, I just feel like my upbringing, I was given so much positivity and building up of myself that I think it really started there with my parents just giving me a lot of confidence for years. But my knowledge of the clinical side of things helps with my confidence for sure. But when I was at Aspen, I had this really incredible boss, Crystal Freitagger. She came from retail. She worked at Aspen for a really long time, but she just taught me so much. This really boosted me up so much. And I just feel like a lot of it comes from your past leaders, things you pick up along the way.
So, for those that don't actually know, what is like a typical office manager role and what do you do?
See, at least for me, speaking from my position, everything that you see going on throughout the day is usually your office manager in your clinic has some hand on that. We do everything. From the perspective, we do everything. Besides the things that you see going on in front of you, all of the back end stuff we do. I handle payroll, I handle employee benefits, time off requests, hiring, a progressive discipline, anyone we bring in to get in front of the team as far as like CE management, things like that. Just working one on one with my team, making sure that we're doing what we can to help keep them happy. And I focus a lot on the patient experience, the brand. I focus a lot on it. The clinic looks from an online standpoint, our reviews. If a patient's upset about something, that comes directly to me, thankfully. Honestly, every little thing, there's some part of me is usually
A big support, that's for sure. So, how do you make sure patients have a smooth experience from the moment they schedule until they leave the clinic?
my focus through on patients is through the people that are with me. I would say that I do a lot of like as far as like if I feel like patients are waiting, and we're going to do a check or see where the hang up is. We're going to manage writing down those times and figuring out where that is located. If a lot of patients are about like communications, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to review any texts are we sending, what's the frequency. But really, patients have a certain level of expectation with their visit, just regardless. Just have a level of expectation when they come in as a new patient. Like I'm probably going to get injured inside my mouth with an X-ray. Expectation, right? Have their X-rays. They expect to have their cleaning. They expect to see a doctor, a hygienist. There's going to be a check-in process before, but it's all the things outside of that they're not expecting is where we can really wow a patient. It's just going the extra mile, talking with them. All that really adds up to meeting the expectations of managing a good patient experience.
How do you handle situations when patients are nervous, upset, or confused about a treatment or billing or anything that you guys have to deal with?
First and foremost, a patient, most of the time, they don't read to you those terms. They're not going to throw it. They're going to throw a fit about something real. It's really important to just identify that with the patient. Hey, I understand what you're saying. Is there something we can do to make you feel more at ease? I just feel like you're really nervous and it's really trickling into other behavior or, things like that. I just feel like the open, black and white communication is so important because a lot of times when you're like, hey, I see that you're really upset with me, it's that you're nervous for this appointment and their guard down. I don't people want to come in and admit that they're really nervous or that they're happy to be there, that just over communicate. I think being very upfront and transparent about pricing, what you're going to be doing, what they can expect, and guilt from the doctor side too. I do tell a patient, you're not going to feel anything. This isn't going to hurt at all, or there's not going to be a pinching people, and not setting very clear expectations is bold to our industry for sure.
Yes, there's usually like a something behind motivating someone to get upset or frustrated. So,
Yes,
got to be
yes,
a mind reader
definitely.
too.
All of the
Uh,
things.
yes. How do you train your team to handle nervous or anxious patients?
I feel like so many of my answers are starting with like the things you don't see. My team trusts 100% that first and foremost, you have to have a good team. I have their back that if a patient is ill and it's just not warranted, I'm not just going to expect them to continue on with that patient. They will always come get me. I will always into the room. I just really make sure that they feel supported. I think once they feel that way, they feel that they can just really be personal with patients and make them feel more comfortable.
How do you coordinate between the dentists and the hygienists and assistants and front desk staff to kind of keep everything running smoothly?
So I think it's real nice. We utilize it's not an app, but we have this resource called Blue Note. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, Dr. Sarah, but it's an intra-office communication. So it's like a system and it's really handy because we are able to say like ready for somebody and it just like does a little noise, a different noise for each category. So that helps with communication in the office. We tried to also use an app for communication, like anything that everyone in the office through this app. And then on top of that, I have a pretty open door. Any concerns, they can bring it directly. And with that being said, I feel like I try to touch base with them as much as I can. If I feel like someone's a little off, I'm going to meet with them or just see what I can do to help them. I would ultimately communication between just making sure everybody's just really important to not only our day, but our patients as well.
You're very good at that too.
Thank you.
What's the most common misunderstanding patients have about the non-clinical side of dentistry?
This is like a really intense part of this interview, I feel like. Insurance is going to be something that I just hope that really anyone that listens to this can take away from. I just think patients feel as though if they wanted to cover it, there's going to be a small copay. I think that they really believe that dental insurance is like medical insurance, and that couldn't be from the truth. I just think that patients have a really big misunderstanding of dental insurance. That would be my answer.
It's hard when when you have a baby or if you have a procedure and they charge out every gauze that they use in medical, every suction, every stitch, all of that. And in dentistry, that's not included at all. And we get one price. We can't individualize each thing. And so I think it's hard too when there's a lot of materials in dentistry that's very, very, very expensive and we have zero control over that.
Yes.
And so even with pricing, especially with people that have insurance, sometimes insurance companies only pay pennies on the dollar for a procedure that sometimes dentists will even maybe, break even on. And it's hard to explain that in the moment and trying to give the patient the best option. But typically whenever we're giving treatment
Right.
presentations or explaining treatment, we can do here's the best option, here's the middle tier, and here's the thing that we really don't want to do. But if we're hobbling along until you can make payments or whatever, it really is it's very
Right.
frustrating.
The cost associated with doing a procedure is just so far out of the realm of understanding. Oftentimes, between wages and private offices are less than 20% in the real world for many offices. And so I think that, you'll have patients that come in and sit down with the doctor and they have their cleaning that their insurance paid probably 40%. Of course you found a cavity on me. You probably are getting a new boat. I don't think they realize how frustrating those comments really are when no longer really benefits a doctor to own their own practice. Most doctors probably at this point are making more money than a private practice owner. It's really a tough area to compete in right now. And I think patients just think that it's all about the money, but in reality, I know that most of you and your colleagues, you're losing sleep at night over this, might not have gotten a perfect margin on a crown, and you probably lost money on it. At the end of the day, I just don't think that patients realize how much really of your heart goes into what you're doing, that while they think those sarcastic comments funny, a lot of doctors that are still just trying to do the dentistry that you used to go to with your family, they aren't flourishing like dentists once were a long time ago. Things have changed a lot in this industry.
They have. Can you kind of explain how dental insurance actually works? And I know we kind of touched base on anything sometimes patients misunderstand about it, but any other information you want to share?
Yeah, I think there's just a really easy blanket way to explain dental insurance because a lot of them are similar. You're going to have better plans, lesser plans. Common one we see most of the time, I'd say 80% of them pay $1,000 a year. So what that means is you don't just walk in the door and anything you have up until $1,000 is 100% covered. Every procedure category is covered at a different percentage. So it's typically broken up into preventative hygiene services. So like your cleanings, your x-rays, your exams. Preventative typically covered at 100%. Then you go down to a restorative category or a basic category that some of your insurances might call it. Those are typically covered at 80% on a standard plan. So with that being said, your fillings are really most of the time what's going to fall in this category. So even if you have your full $1,000 to use and you need a filling, let's just say for making it easy, $100 for a filling, that's not the price. They're going to pay $80 of that. So the last $20 is your responsibility. What patients don't realize is that within these categories that don't pay 100% and that do pay 100%, if we charge $100 for a cleaning, we typically have an agreement with your insurance company with an in-network provider that we're going to write part of that off. I would say a lot of standard percentages, we're probably going to get $60 for your cleaning is a good number to kind of give you. So when you think my insurance paid for all of that, they didn't actually. We gave them a discount and they paid the difference. So when you're breaking it down that way, you might have 50% category on a crown. If we're charging $1,000 for a crown, they pay 50%. We are taking the price down to 50% of our fee, and they're paying us the difference of that. When you think that the industry is making all of this money, that's not really the case. Our fees, what we think is fair for us to receive for the procedure, we're only getting that from self-pay patients most of the time. And many patients are not self-pay. I would say under 10% of your patient population is going to be a self-pay patient. So whatever the fee, and you can't just say, okay, well, if they only cover 50%, instead of charging 1,000 for a crown, charge 1,500. There's a cap off with the insurance companies of what we can charge. So you can't just make up the difference somewhere. That's not how it works. We're taking those discounts and those write-offs no matter what. So hopefully that helps patients understand a little bit about insurance. It's very different than medical. It's not just a copay. They're only going to pay a portion of your care. And just because insurance pays $1,000 a year, that doesn't mean that your tooth that's cracked and needs a crown should wait till next year to use your benefits. Insurance isn't looking out for you. Your dentist is looking out for you. Your insurance isn't. So I think it's really important to patients should start to advocate for the insurance companies a little bit more too.
That's huge. And sometimes there are things that if you're towards the end of the year and you haven't used your benefits, things can be modified, but like the big things like a cracked tooth, we didn't do that. It gets kind of sad and frustrating on our end because it's like we don't want that to happen to you. And we're not trying to say like you need a crown
Right,
if you don't. I mean, we understand the finance aspect of it. Dental insurance system is not helpful for either, doctor side or patient wise, but like it's a hard system
right.
to try and navigate, and it's hard when
It is.
you don't fully understand what's going on.
Totally. And I think that patients sometimes just think that we're looking for something just to make money on them, things like that. I think it's really important. And I think it gives the wrong idea because insurance isn't going to cover something that it might not need done. Patients need to understand that the insurance company makes money when they don't pay for your services. That is how they make their money. You pay your monthly premiums. If you look at it 9 times out of 10, if you have $1,000 max, your premium monthly is more than $1,000 for the year. So it's kind of silly when I break that down for patients. Like you're paying way more than what you're even getting from the insurance company. It makes no sense sometimes to even have it. The insurance company makes money by not helping you out. They make money by you not getting your services done. Their favorite patients are the non-compliant ones that are paying for their dental insurance. And that can sometimes be a barrier between a patient and a provider or a patient and an office because I think they think that it's the insurance company and them against us, when in reality, it's really us and them against the insurance company. So I think that's a common misconception that I see pretty frequently as well.
So a lot of times dental insurance is provided through an employer, but if they aren't, what would you recommend for people that are looking to get dental insurance? Is it better to see if an office has cash fee discounts, or what would you recommend?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's oftentimes one thing that you should really pay attention to. I went and signed up for it because I got told I needed a crown, and then they cut out that there's a 12-month waiting period on crowns. And they could have just taken the money that they're spent for the crown, right? In-house plan that you can sign up for that gives you like a bundle for cleaning. I would look for an office that has that percentage off, things like that as well. I think those are really helpful to the patient in the office seeking a private dental insurance unless you have one given through your job, and to manage office to get some sort of self-pay discount or plan.
How can a patient find out if their insurance covers a certain procedure before their visit?
There's a couple of ways to answer that question. So first and foremost, if you're in a hurry to get your procedure done, a pre-authorization is probably not. I would say if you're a patient that really wants to know down to the dollar what your insurance is going to cover on something, I would think your office pre-authorize for you. There's a lot of different types of patients. If it's around that fee, let me know what is at the end. I just need to get it done. If you're that patient, I have a pre-auth for you. We do a good job of doing breakdowns, making sure we have understanding and whittling through that with the dental insurance prior to their visit. But if they want to know, a pre-authorization, your insurance is always going to suggest it too, because that's their way to deny services in advance for you as well. But I will say that a few weeks before we can get that information for you. And then probably a few weeks out from there in the schedule. So you're just going to want to decide that. You can also get the codes and call your insurance company. The thing you have to remember with your insurance that they would cover it doesn't mean that they for sure are going to when it's all said and done.
Yeah, periosine, deep cleanings, and things like that. And sometimes, we'll show them the x-rays and we'll show them the perio chart, and they'll still come back and say that they don't actually need the treatment, which is it's frustrating. So then we have to write a letter. And I think the insurance company is hoping that we just forget or just waive it or whatever. But it's very tough.
And I have seen things where it's like we don't even review the attachments. We just deny it to see if you'll just take it as our word and move forward. And to be honest with you, we do send in a lot of letters when we get denials when we're very sure that people need things. And then they're like, oh, it's approved now. So I would just urge you to question things that you're not certain if they're accurate once you get those answers back.
Yeah, and I've even had to the point where like sometimes they'll require a dentist to do like a peer to peer, and the second that I'm willing to do it to talk to someone, they're like totally approved, don't worry about it.
Really?
So
Yep.
just trying to play the
Yep.
game.
And I think they're trying to just scare us from doing it. Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate, really. It makes our job a lot harder. I feel like we could focus so much more on patients if it didn't come to insurance, unfortunately.
What does it mean if someone calls and the office says that they don't take any insurance?
So this is probably becoming a lot more popular. Fee for service practices. Basically, what our fee is what the fee is. And we aren't working with insurance companies, would be what that would look like. That would take a lot of stress off of many people in the office. Sorry for people who love their dental insurance. I just feel like if you saw this side of it, you would feel so differently. But basically, it would just be if the fee's $100, you come in, you pay $100, and there's none of like the riffraff, and the dentist can just treatment plan and not worry about the denials and just like really treat what needs to be treated and not have their professionalism and their education questioned every time they do something, which would be beautiful.
If someone has insurance, but that office specifically doesn't take it, are they able to file by themselves, or can the office submit things underneath them?
Yes, you can still submit to insurance companies for patients if you're fee for service. They just don't get that discount or that write off that we talked about earlier. So that would help out. I think what people don't understand is that us submitting to their dental insurance for them is actually a courtesy on the office's behalf. They don't look at it that way. It's an expectation. We do that to help you out. That's not necessarily the way it has to be done or the way it should be done. That's just something we do to help you because we have all the codes and we have all the answers and we have all the notes. We're really the liaison, but the relationship between an insurance company is with that of their customer. So we could still submit it if we were fee for service, or we can provide you the claim form and a printout of what we did and let you absorb those frustrations, I guess is a good way to put it.
How do they file themselves if the office doesn't file for them? So do they have to call the insurance or submit something online, or how does that work?
Yep. So you use an ADA claim form. The office can typically provide that to you, or you can find it online. And then you would just need to know the codes of the procedures and the prices of what you had done to help the insurance understand what was completed.
Why are a lot of offices not taking insurance anymore?
So that goes back to a lot of the things we had just talked about. It's just such a time consuming part of our day because of the barriers that they put up with patients and us accessing those benefits for patients. To be honest with you, I have two front office people and then there's myself. I would say probably 75% of my day, as well as both of my front office people, is spent calling to get pre authorizations that they just have to push through because it's been so long, calling on claims that haven't been paid that could be upwards of almost 90 days old, just calling and asking questions as far as like different new rules that are put out all the time from different insurance companies. We have to call and get benefit breakdowns for everyone. We have to call and see if our patients are still active with their insurance plan because unfortunately, a lot of patients change insurance and do not tell us. Just there's so much that goes into the day of managing insurance that I would say that's why you're seeing a lot of offices go away from wanting to work with insurance companies.
Why do patients sometimes need a treatment plan instead of just a price quote?
Patients calling and wanting like our pricing, there is so much that goes into patients like phone calls and trying to like accurately and transparently answer questions. The thing about it is just go back to like the cleaning for $100. The patient calls, and maybe they're a self-pay, maybe they're not. How much do you charge for a cleaning? Because they're price shopping you, right? They're going to decide where they're going to go based on the best fee. which is so silly. So silly. You should be choosing where you go based on your confidence in the provider and what people are saying about them, reviews, things like that. Calling and asking, how much is the cleaning? We don't know because we haven't seen you. You may need periodontal treatment. You may have gingivitis going on. And then all you're going to do is once I tell you my cleaning's $100 and you come in the door, you're going to be upset because you haven't been to the dentist. Now you're telling me in 10 years you have bone loss. You need all of this crazy expensive stuff. That's the way they're going to put it. And you just like did this whole thing to lure me in with this $100 fee. And so I think what patients don't realize is we're not like putting smoke and mirrors by not giving you pricing up front. We just don't want you to hold on to every word and hold us accountable to some fee when you need something completely different. So I think it's important that you really choose an office not on pricing, but on how you feel about the provider and how the office treats you and how things look with reviews.
Why is it important for you to confirm your dental appointments? I know some offices will cancel you. And then what happens if a patient doesn't show up to their appointment?
I am so glad that you asked this question. Like, if anyone listens to any of this, I hope it's just this. Patients love to complain the most about confirmations. Like, it is the most frustrating thing that's ever happened to them, like us reaching out to see if they're coming. First of all, we have reached out to you a lot of times and you've ignored us. If we're calling you the day before and being like, we're going to cancel if you don't confirm, that's because you haven't been respectful enough to give us an answer back. Takes 2 seconds to type C and send it in, right? Like that's 2 seconds. But you expect us to hold you 2 to 3 hours of our day and just like willy nilly decide if you roll in and you never told us you were coming. That's just not real life. That just doesn't work like anywhere. I mean, to get your haircut, you have to confirm. And most of the time now, if you're getting a haircut or any cosmetic procedures or any of that, they want your card on file before you even go see them. And they will charge you the total cost of your appointment if you do not confirm or do not cancel and don't show. Can you imagine like the uproar if we did such a thing? I support it fully. Don't get me wrong. This is not me hating on it. I support it. But what patients don't understand is typically the person that's cleaning your teeth, we're paying them now more than ever. I think that they are worth it if we can keep them busy. So when you're not coming, we're no longer getting paid for your service and we have them standing there for an hour with no one in the chair. Oftentimes we have a waiting list of people trying to get in that we can't get in now. If you could just give us the courtesy of saying, I can't make it, we're not mad at you. We're not mad. Just tell us in advance you're not coming because someone else wants your spot. That's frustrating. It's now more important than ever with the cost of wages that we do understand exactly who is and is not coming into the schedule. And a lot of offices are charging a deposit to make a larger appointment. Instead of like ruffling your feathers, you need to understand that like that is 3 or 4 hours that we could be doing something for someone else who is respectful and wants that time.
Yes, all of that.
Then some.
It's we know life happens and sometimes things come up last second, but the best of your ability, if you know you're not going to come, just let people know we're not going to be mad. We're not going to be frustrated. We got to know what our
Exactly. We just
schedule
need a
looks
plan
like.
for our day. Yeah, and the assistants have so much work that goes into preparing for each appointment that I don't think they understand that like when you're giving us a 20-minute notice, we have that operatory completely set up for you. Down to like there's different anesthetic used for different procedures. Like we have a syringe loaded with the anesthetic for your procedure. That now is going to go to waste because we have to tear that whole room down. And people just don't understand like really what time goes into it on the back end to like really help prepare for their visit. Our scheduling has to be really strategic. Things that are taken into account when we're scheduling someone is if we're going to have to anesthetize or numb the patient or not. If we're doing a pediatric patient, a lot of times nitros is involved. Some offices do sedation, so there's prep work that goes into that as well. A lot of times we have to toggle our spots. So like if we're starting a crown on somebody, we know that if we're doing a same day crown and putting the crown on time within that to do something for someone else. When we get rid of that procedure here, a lot of times if you're going to start another appointment at the same time, you can't have two patients you're numbing typically at the same time. So you might just think it's easy to squeeze back into the schedule the next day in a spot. There's so much strategy that goes into like a good schedule that's manageable for a provider that you don't really tomorrow. Chances are it's a month or two before that perfect up again. We're strategically blocking out these times that things make sense.
How can patients make the most of their dental benefits before the end of the year?
I would say the main thing is scheduled now. September, October, November are really like your months to get this done now. And like I just told you, we're scheduling a couple months out typically to find you the spot that works for your actual procedure. So schedule now. The other thing is you have to understand the frequencies on your procedures. So if let's say the first half of the year you just were not able to get in for your cleaning and you just got one done in August, your insurance might be one that covers a calendar year. So you can still get another cleaning this year if you want to before the end of the year is up. So I think just understanding how frequently they're going to cover things for you and talking with your dentist about, hey, is there anything that you see that is maybe on the radar here coming up that you've been just kind of keeping an eye on for me that you think I should get done? I have X amount of dollars left on my insurance, things like that. Because I do think dentists tend not to want to overwhelm their patients. So if there's something that we call like a WAT, it may be just like a little lesion on your tooth that they're keeping an eye on that's not quite something they want to address yet. Maybe they know that's something that is going to need addressed eventually. Those are the kind of things that you should be talking with your dentist about for sure.
What payment options do some dental offices offer for like larger procedures?
I think that a lot of offices are getting away from doing like in-house type things when it comes to like, you can pay me and have a card on file. So we used to be pretty good about being like, yeah, you can leave a card on file. I cannot tell you. People's cards would get declined over and over. They just disappear. They don't answer your calls. We've done away with like the whole in-office payment thing. It's just, I think it muddies the waters for like the real part of our relationship that's important as far as like dentist to patient. We don't need to be the banker too. That's like a very stressful position to be in. We don't really do that anymore. However, there is options, care credit, Sunbit, things like that that the office can provide to you to be able to, make monthly payments and still get your work done. My advice when doing that is if you need two crowns on a filling, I wouldn't be like, I'm going to use care credit and just get one of my crowns done. You really should try to get everything done within that payment option and move forward. I will say things have not changed from when I got into this field 15 years ago, and things do only get worse. So watching things get worse is not something I'd recommend doing. And if you're going to do a payment plan, I would really focus on getting as much done as you can.
I know money sometimes can be kind of tricky. And so, like, how can patients feel more comfortable asking questions about their treatment if they don't fully understand or their bill? And who should they actually talk to about that?
A lot of times your front office coordinators can help you quite a bit with those things. They have a very good understanding of your insurance. I don't think every financial question needs to go to the office manager, but if you're not getting the information you need, that's where I would take it next. Just not being afraid to ask questions. We understand how much there is to it and we do it all day. So I think it's just really important before you get started with anything to have a full understanding truly of what you don't understand because it does help keep a good relationship with the provider and the team.
I think it's important too to know that, like, if you have a question or if you have a big treatment plan, you can actually come back after your appointment when you've had time to process
Yes.
and ask questions, or you
Yes.
can, do it over the phone. But I don't think any office would be mad about you
No.
coming, even giving them a call ahead of time, but meeting them again and talking about what options and what questions you have.
It only helps us for you to fully understand. That's my take on it. I don't there's never too many questions. I never hesitate to help out with those things. If you fully understand, it helps the doctor to be able to help you. And if you don't fully understand, then we have an opportunity to improve on how we explain it to you. So I think it's really important that patients just go in without fear. We're not going to be upset if you have questions. It's part of our job.
And sometimes me explaining something may not be the best route for someone to understand, and you might be able to explain it differently. And so hearing it from two different areas and techniques can be helpful too.
Definitely, for sure. And whenever there's a large treatment plan, anyone out there that's like in treatment coordinating, office managing, I tend to want to kind of cradle those to myself. I will print out their treatment plan. I will go sit with them chairside. I will review it with them, talk about payment options. I just feel like it's so important that they leave the office with all of that information. I don't need a decision on anything today, but I do want to make sure you fully understand what your options are. And I will even like write notes on it for them and just make sure that there's someone sitting down and being like, okay, so I know he just went over like an MO on 2 and a DO on 3. What that means is there's two cavities that need filled. And I try to kind of break it down into more layman's terms with them and give them like a rounded off, here's how many cavities we have that we need to take care of. These are two far gone. We have to do some crowns on a couple of the teeth. And I try to kind of neutralize that information and make it a little bit easier to understand. So that's something that I think is really important too.
How do you explain the value of dentistry to patients who may only be focused on like the cost aspect?
First and foremost, I don't like people to go seeking information online. That's not good information to seek. But I would encourage anyone listening to this to really look at the correlations between cardiac health and things like that with their dental health. Patients often don't understand that gum disease and things like that can lead to other, health related issues in their body. So to me, it's very invaluable. I think that there's just so much more that goes into it. The thing about teeth is the longer you let them go, the more impossible it becomes to fix the problem. I even just talked to someone the other day that's like, I know they want me to do my perio maintenance 4 times a year, but I haven't had to redo my deep cleaning at any point. I think I'm doing okay. So I'm just going to do the 2 perio maintenance visits that the insurance covers. And I'm like, this is a patient that's doing implants and, crowns and like really wanting to like hold on to their teeth long term. And I'm like, you're really trading off like a $300 quarterly visit, the possibility of further issues. Just silly to me. Perio maintenance doesn't make us a lot of money. It doesn't do much for us, but once those pockets and that bone loss is there, you can't get in there anymore. So $300, a pretty valuable procedure for us to provide to you for that fee.
It's hard when we understand the clinic aspect of it and trying to explain it to simplify and have the patient actually understand what's going on and seeing our recommendations are not suggestions necessarily. They're the best treatment for that person. And so if you don't take that, that's why we say the recommendations. But I wish it wasn't optional. I wish we were able to
I
actually do
know.
what they need.
And it just always comes down to like, you see it every day. I'm sure you do. Someone you told, like, this tooth really needs a crown. This is a huge silver filling, putting so much stress on the tooth. It really needs a crown. And then the next conversation you're having with them is that you're taking the tooth out. I mean, this is a daily occurrence. And it's interesting that people just don't value their teeth more to me, I guess. People go into the heart surgeon and they're like, well, we could do a stent. And it's not like, nah, maybe, and I don't really feel like it. It is your body. It's still your body. I just think I think people just look at their dental health as so much aesthetics and so little functionality and health, really.
And it doesn't help that like the government views it as an optional service as well. And
Mhm.
so that doesn't help either on
It does
that
not.
case. Because I mean, you can literally die from a dental infection if you don't get it
Yeah.
taken care of. So
Yep.
to me, it's not optional, but when society is telling you that it is, it doesn't help. And if you don't understand what's going on either.
Correct. Yeah. It's not helpful at all. We need more education out there for people for sure.
If you could give one piece of advice to every dental patient, what would it be?
Communication, improvement upon communication from patients would be a huge benefit to our industry. I think patients they struggle when they come in. I think a lot of them are nervous, so they struggle to communicate effectively with us. And I just think that if they took some time to understand what we provide and like what we're doing for them, then they would be able to be a little more empathetic to like how much it really takes to do what we do for them.
Yes. And we really are there to help. And so I think
Yes.
hitting the point home of like, you don't understand, we do not care. We can try and explain it in different ways. Sometimes I'll even have the hygienist be like, can you try to explain it so that they totally understand? Because we don't want to be doing something that you don't understand. And we don't want to be doing something permanent, like removing a tooth, if you don't fully understand what happens,
Exactly.
the aftermath.
Exactly. Totally agree.
Any last tips for patients to make their dental visit stress free?
I would just say do your research before you go. Try to have a basic understanding of what you're looking for. I wouldn't start your visit with like, I hate the dentist. Like that's every third person is like, I just don't want to be here. I hate coming here. I just think that is really exhausting. Working in that office, hearing that all day is just not nice. It's like it just doesn't feel good. So I would just try to understand that it's a necessary thing that you're doing, and I would give yourself more props to just having put the effort into keeping your teeth up. I think we're not here to judge you if you have a problem with your tooth. We're impressed that you're here. We value your time. We value that you value what we do for you. I just think that patients are so concerned, just like us when we go into another field, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go and have them looking at this. And we really do see like the worst of the worst. And everyone has different things, and we're empathetic to everyone's different lives and financial aspects. If what's keeping you away is embarrassment, then I would let that go because we've already seen it. We already know what's going on, and we're just here to fix it for you.
For sure. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insight into the behind the scenes of a dental practice. I think our listeners will walk away with a better understanding of the role you play in making their dental visit a success. If you enjoyed this conversation or learned something new, give it a like, drop a comment with your favorite takeaway. And don't forget to subscribe for more dental conversations. And if you enjoyed hearing about Sarah's journey and patient focused insights, you'll definitely want to catch our next conversation together. In part two, we switch gears to talk directly to dental professionals and office managers, diving into leadership, team success, and how to keep a practice running into a well oiled machine. Stay tuned.